Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings you give us in life each day, Father. We just pray tonight, Lord, that whatever we do or say will be for one purpose, and that'll be to glorify your name. Lead us and guide us now. Forgive us of our sins where we fail you, and may we always give you the praise and honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Drew, you want to?
Sure.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Suzanne, were you going to do the roll call for us?
Chair Moore,
Here.
Vice Chair Schneider, Ms. Holman,
Here.
Ms. Gregory,
Here.
Mr. Morrell.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Y'all looked at the April 25th minutes and all. If you're satisfied and everything's okay, if you don't have a question, if not, I'll take a motion to accept those.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the minutes will be covered for the last meeting. We'll have public comments on the agenda related to the items a little later on. The first one on the board, on the agenda tonight is Resolution 2024-06. The owner and applicant request approval of a variance of 9.4 feet from the rear yard setback to convert an existing structure into a residential dwelling on 0.05 acre lot. Group A parcel 18 zoned R10, medium density residential district located at 314 Malone Drive. Yep, you gonna give us a report on it?
Yes, sir.
All righty.
Jim Carpenter, staff planner. Apologies for my voice tonight. The owner and applicant request approval of variance from 9.4 feet from the rear yard setbacks to convert this accessory structure into a primary structure, a primary use. On a 0.54 acre lot, zoned R10 medium density residential, located at 314 Mullen Drive. So a little bit of background on this. The applicant had a pre-app with the department in November. They were told to, if this is what they wanted to pursue duplex use, which is the next item on the agenda. And for basically it's a dwelling two-family use. They submitted that. It was on the agenda for April. And as staff was reviewing this item, it came to our attention that they also needed a variance from the rear yard setbacks for this as well. So that's why this is the first item on this agenda. And so our R10 medium density residential requires 15 feet rear yard setback for a primary structure. For accessory structures, they can be within 4 feet of property line unless there's an easement, in which case it just needs to be outside of that easement. And so the applicant is converting this structure, which is I believe a garage currently, or is applying to convert this structure to a residential dwelling unit as part of the dwelling two-family duplex use. And so that's why it's the first item. Staff's findings of fact do not support this variance for the reasons listed in the staff report. The applicant has also included findings of fact separately, and those have been attached as one of the attachments for the staff report as well.
Okay, any questions for him?
I do, yeah.
Question?
You said the current accessory structure is a garage?
That's my understanding, yes.
Do you know the size of that garage? I'm sure it's in here.
I don't think it's got the size.
I saw it on here, but I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
24
24 by 30.
24 by 30.
You're looking at it on
That's 720 square feet.
street view. It looks like there's two garage doors up front, and there's a upstairs.
So a 24 by 30 will be converted into a duplex?
So it's in our code. It defines it's kind of odd, but there's a dwelling two-family detached and a dwelling two-family attached use. They're kind of both labeled duplexes in different places, but in essence, this is going from a single-family residence to a two-family residence, and so that's why we've used that language throughout the report.
Okay, thank you.
Before we have any more discussion, could we hear from the applicant what they're trying to do?
Yeah.
Haven't yet. Any other question for him?
I mean, I may have more questions for Jim, but
We purchased a property roughly 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And it had this
hold on.
accessory building
Can
on
you
there.
state your name and address, please?
Oh, my name's Houston McDonald, and I live at 314 Malone Drive, and the primary residence with my daughter and kids, basically two families in that one building right now. We bought it with the understanding we would, our realtor told us we could possibly build onto that, to use that structure. It has a full foundation in it. We've had the city engineers come out and look at the building to see if it was viable to build, and they said yes, it was, in shape enough to build, a regular house out of it, meet all the codes. But we couldn't get any permits until we went through this process. We tried to get the permits, and then they said, you have to go to zoning for this. The back corner of the property, when they had it surveyed, there's 39 inches of that corner that's within 6-7 feet of the corner of the building. The building's been there for what we've talked to the neighbors over 30 years. And there's never been a problem. We talked to all of the neighbors, and they were all great with it, but we're just trying to get the permits to do it and do it right. And we've talked to all the people in codes and enforcement, and they were all for it, as long as we passed this part of it, the zoning part. Parking and everything was all okay. We've expanded that. And we didn't know about the property corners until we had it surveyed. We had it surveyed, and then we had it plotted both. And so found out that property lines were quite a ways over into other people's properties. But
So you're not converting the main structure that is the one that looks like the house into a duplex. That's going to remain a one-family structure, and essentially what this is an accessory dwelling unit.
2 one-families or an accessory, but our ordinance doesn't have a call-out for an accessory dwelling unit, and so it's considered a
Duplex.
two-family detached, if you will.
yeah, we were kind of considering it as like a mother-in-law apartment or something like that. It's just a one-bedroom.
Duplex is 2 kitchens, 2
Yeah.
Yeah.
entrances.
Right. This is 2 single-family houses, essentially. So there will be 2 kitchens, one in the garage, which is going to get converted into a unit, a house, and then one in the existing house. But there won't be any structure that has 2 kitchens within the same structure, like a typical duplex would be.
Does the garage have a bathroom?
No, not at this time. I checked with the sewer and water department, had their engineers come out and gave us a course of action to take, and the electrical also, to upgrade that, which needs permits, of course, to do all those things. But nobody had any problems with anything. We replaced all the sewer and water to the main house, And so
Okay.
at that time, we talked to them and got permits for all that.
This is more a question for Brian. Is this one of the holes we're trying to fix in updating our zoning ordinance?
100%.
Okay. So, I mean, in reality, if we had an accessory dwelling unit section in our zoning code, they would be applying for an ADU.
They would, they still would need a variance likely, depending on what setback requirements were there.
A variance for the setback, but for the conditional use.
Right.
Okay. What were you going to say?
I'm tracking, no, I was just gonna say, there's homes all over town where, you know, garage is called, they just call it a man cave.
Yeah.
She shed or whatever.
Yeah.
But I see your point here, so essentially, the code doesn't have a section for this. And if they did,
We,
then there would be no need for the conditional use permit.
The point of well, what we're trying to talk about right now is the variance,
Just
right?
I'm
The
tracking.
point of the variance is they can't have a house that close to the property line being, you know, the house is typically considered the main use on the property, right? And so you typically set that back further than an accessory unit or an accessory structure.
I realize I might be jumping ahead because I know there's two separate items, but in reality, they're,
There's no sense in approving one just to deny the other, so discussion.
Jim, what do you need to say?
Oh yeah, that was what I was going to say. Is that this is, like I said, transforming from the primary use of the land will be a two-family dwelling,
Yes.
and that's what requires it to meet those primary structure setbacks, and that's why they need the variance.
Are y'all, will the bottom floor of that structure remain a garage, or will the entire thing be converted into the entire thing?
What was the question again?
So the bottom floor of that structure will no longer be a garage?
No.
Okay. So essentially, they're gonna have two houses on, which, I mean, you could, in most municipalities that have accessory dwelling units, it is smaller than the main structure on the property.
Who'd you say,
What? Go ahead.
who came out and told you all this would be okay? Who'd you say did that?
The previous
Sounds like
three
codes.
owners all
Oh, okay.
stopped by and talked to us.
Wasn't the city then?
No,
okay.
the city engineer from codes came out and looked at the building, the top code enforcement officer, came out, looked at the building, we went through it structurally, foundation-wise, most everything. We just needed to get the permits to, to remodel the inside. But it is on a full foundation, and it's been there for like 30 years. Like I said, the previous owners have all come by, including the ones that built the building like 30 years ago. So,
Did I hear you correctly that your daughter?
what's that?
Your daughter is the intended resident?
No, my wife and I would like to live in that one, and my daughter and the grandkids live in the main structure.
Okay, so it's not like you're doing this to Airbnb something in your back?
No.
Okay.
This is just to get some separation there.
Family together. Okay.
So my next question, maybe for Brian, maybe more for Letitia, is if this variance is approved, does it run with the property? And I guess what my question is if they tear down the main house and the garage and want to build two brand-new houses, they would still have the variance and the conditional use permit on the property?
Yes.
Get those shotgun homes like in Nashville and A and B.
Yeah, it's basically, that is my question, is basically, this could potentially be treated as an HPR, which is a horizontal property regime, with two brand-new houses on it.
If we approve it.
Yes,
If it's approved.
which I don't have anything against that necessarily. It's just,
But your question was, does this variance and conditional use permit run with, because we did one several years ago where they have to renew that conditional use permit like every 5 years or something like that. So would this conditional use permit stand with the property forever, or would it have to be
So-
renewed?
You could, in theory, add that as a condition of approval. That has happened in the past, but that a lot of those were done 20, 25 years ago. You've done some of that in the more recent past than that.
Last one we did was for a dog kennel.
Um,
They had a conditional use permit to run a dog kennel facility. it
And they had to update it.
You had to renew like every 5 years. I think the point he's trying to make, and correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, is to not set a prerequisite for this, and the next thing you know, you get developers coming in and
Because right now, we don't, so if we had, that's correct, Drew. If we had a policy in place, so like Nashville has an infill guidance that you can go in, you can purchase a house, you can tear the house down and build 2 houses, depending on how big your lot is. The city of Lebanon has the same thing. They don't call it infill, they call it basically like a missing middle type guidance. Here, with that conditional use, someone could potentially purchase this property with the conditional use and then tear it down and build 2 brand new houses.
correct.
so
However, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I have nothing to add on that.
well, I see CJ's point.
And we have zero way of, I'm just looking at it from the city standpoint. At that point, with the conditional use, they could just apply for building permits. We have no,
So could we, because I see your point, and I think we're in agreement on it. I love that you're trying to keep your family together. But where he's going with it is, I don't want to set a prerequisite so that these developers can come in and start knocking down homes in Gallatin and slapping up 2 houses on it.
until we have a guidance that,
Correct, yeah.
that they
So
can follow.
could we do a conditional use permit with a contingency that if their property were to sell, it would have to,
Be renewed?
yeah, do we have the authority to put that caveat with the conditional use permit?
That would be
So
one.
that if they were to sell the home, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I know, you're not, but I'm going to give you an answer if you give me 2 seconds.
Uh,
So, because y'all have it right here in the conditional use permits code, section 15-06 .030, Latisha Alexander, Assistant City Attorney. It says, "The board may impose such other conditions and restrictions upon the premises benefited by a conditional use permit as may be necessary to comply with the provisions set out in section 15.06-040 through 15-06-090. So, to reduce or minimize the injurious effect of such conditional use. So, yes,
Okay.
you can put other restrictions on there to prevent what CJ has talked
So we're
about
ahead
potentially
of it.
happening.
We started on this variance, but I know that we're treading into section 2, which is a conditional use permit, but it's
But, yeah.
here level anyway.
But yes,
Okay.
Anybody else have a question?
If not, I'll make a motion if there's no other discussion. I'm sure, I mean, we'll go to discussion, but,
Open it to the public.
Yeah.
yeah, we did not, yeah, we never opened to the public.
okay, so again, the public comments on agenda-related issues is mandatory by state law. And then everything that comes before this body has to have a public hearing by our own ordinance. Okay, so those are required, no questions, never forget, always do them,
Yep.
okay?
And what she's saying is that at the very beginning of the meeting, right before we go to the regular agenda, it says public comment on agenda-related items. You have to open that and then close it before we go to the regular
That's not what
agenda.
Brian said, but that's what we'll do.
No, I
that's-
tried to give you the guidance, basically, that the 2 people that are in the room were the applicants,
Right.
and that they would likely want to speak during the agenda item and not during public comment. But that, you would still open the public comment and close it first, and
I think
then,
we've always opened it to the public. It's a matter of when you want them to speak, I guess. And that's during, after, or before, or what?
typically an applicant, you would allow them to make a presentation during the agenda item. So that's the difference.
And then you would open a public hearing before the applicant spoke, and then close it before the applicant got up to speak.
All right, any other question? If not, I'm ready for a motion. Open it to the public. Is anyone else would like to speak? You don't want to speak, ma'am? Anybody else? Okay. So we'll close it to the public and ask for a motion.
Okay, so I realize these are two different items. I'm going to make an attempt at a motion here. So for the first one, I know we're still on the first one, for the variance in the setback.
Make sure to give a reason.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to approve the variance within the setback with a condition that they have to renew the variance if the property ever sells.
Yeah, because they're connected.
Every year?
No? What? I can't do that on this one?
Correct. I don't think you can do that on a variance. I think
That's
the
fair.
variance will run
Oh,
with the
conditional
land,
use.
but the conditional
Okay.
use permit, you can put
Well, the
restrictions.
structure's
on
already
it.
there, so, and it's been there for a while. So I'm going to retract that. I'll restate it. I would like to make a motion to approve the variance.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So you have that variance.
Okay. Jim, are you presenting the next one?
That leads us to number 2, 2024-03, 314 Malone Drive, conditional use permit. The owner applicant requests approval of a conditional use permit for a two-family duplex, section 060620 of the Gallatin zoning ordinance on same .54 acres, Group A partial, medium density residential district located same place, 314 Malone Drive. Okay.
Yes, sir. Staff on this, just to remain consistent with our previous recommendation, we recommended denial of this, but that was just to remain consistent.
Any questions for him?
No. We got,
Public.
we still
Still got to open it to the public, yeah. Open to the public. Anyone like to speak on this?
Do we need to explain more, or?
You'll have an opportunity after we close the public hearing.
Anyone else? Okay. Questions?
Would y'all like to add any comments? Yes.
I guess the only comments that we
One
had
second.
was,
1 second.
State your,
Yeah, I think you have
state
to.
your name
oh,
again.
my name's Houston McDonald.
Hold on. You have to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Like words have to come out of your mouth that the public hearing's closed.
Public meeting closed.
There you can go.
I can- No, the only thing I'd like to add is the structure's been there a long time. We've talked to all of our neighbors. We've talked to all the previous owners. Basically, what we were trying to do is just better the building. We're putting new siding on it that will be more compatible to the neighborhood. And the roof and everything else is we've talked to the neighbors and tried to, be really good neighbors about the whole thing. And just take care of upgrade the property. The main house, there was 42 items on there that we had to correct when we bought it. So there was a lot of things, in the electrical and the plumbing and everything else that we've just tried to upgrade and make the property better. And the building fits. It has been there for a long time. And it was just basically for my wife and I, to have a residence of our own. We don't even know if we're going to be able to finish the second floor because, money issues. But, that's up to codes, how we can work that out. So, and like I said, we've talked to the engineers and everyone else, and it seems like it's, that nobody saw any problems with anything other than, getting my ducks in a row and coming back and getting the zoning right and stuff like that. So we appreciate your time and everybody's effort on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not, I'll close it to the public.
What's the property zoned? R10?
Questions for anyone?
Should there be any concern that, should they sell the property as is, that it not become for business?
I was gonna make my, and you can correct me on this, whenever we, well, not correct, but guide me on this. We need to give a reason whether we approve or deny it. And one of the reasons that I would intend to be in agreement would be that it is not for profit, that this is for the sole purpose of continuity of family. And it's not for profit, which is why, if I were to make a motion, it would be a conditional use permit as long as they would be owners. Therefore, if somebody were to purchase it, they would have to reapply for the conditional use permit, which would give us the ability to say, no, because you're gonna build two brand new houses there for profit. So, yeah, so we have the authority to give a conditional use permit that runs with, that would run out essentially as the ownership would change, if I understand that right. But we have the authority to grant that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That all needs to be put in a motion, doesn't it, Ms.
I would,
Alexander?
yeah. So I
Okay.
would make a motion to approve the conditional use permit based on the fact that it's not for profit. And I would further stipulate that that conditional use permit would run only with the current ownership, that it would have to be reapplied for. Yeah, of course.
So this is a little bit awkward because we easily say it in the opposite direction, but financial considerations can't be a basis for decisions in either direction. So I just wanted to point that out.
Also, I'll point out that once it's converted into a house,
It remains a house.
it's going to be a house when the next person buys it. So it would be difficult to enforce necessarily that you would say to the next buyer, hey, by the way, you have to come back here for a commercial, a condition, another conditional use permit. If it expires when the next buyer comes along, they don't technically legally have a right to live in that second house again because it's expired, right? But it's been built that way, and it just makes it maybe not the right type of scenario.
So I would just contract my, or shrink my, I guess, motion down and say that I would approve the conditional use permit with the provision that it's only with current ownership.
And maybe you could suggest that if that unit or building ever were torn down, that the conditional use permit would expire, something to that effect. But if it's an existing.
Say it all over again now.
All of them.
All right.
So I would make a motion to approve the conditional use permit, that the permit would run continuous with current ownership, and if the accessory structure were to be torn down, then it would expire.
Expire, yeah.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So you have your variance on that one. Thank y'all.
Good.
I guess number 3 tonight is the laws. You've been working on that, Brian, and
Yes, so you've got a
Consider
draft,
adopting them.
you've got a draft set of bylaws for the BZA in front of you, included in your packet. It's, a few pages long, and basically it is what essentially mirrors what the Planning Commission has done for their bylaws. We just sort of changed the language to be effective for the BZA. I assume you've all had a chance to read through it. Are there any questions or changes that you all would like to see made to these, or, I'm open to any comments you want to give us.
what mainly did you change?
It's not a change necessarily because this is a brand-new document for you. We did not find evidence that the BZA ever had a set of bylaws. So we just took what the Planning Commission had done for theirs and amended it to make it applicable for the BZA, meaning we put the BZA's name in there.
All those
where it needed
Books
to
I
be.
gave you didn't have anything from what we'd done 30 years ago?
No,
Really?
yeah. We could not find any evidence that there had ever been bylaws adopted by this board.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
That's crazy.
but never time like the present to get it adopted, right?
I'll make a motion.
We have to open a public
Oh,
hearing.
Yeah, open it to the public, anyone? Close it to the public, and then ready for motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the bylaws.
Motion been made.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so that one's carried. Number 4,
Number 4
change
is
planning mission department, I guess you're saying time, right?
simply a time of meeting change proposal. Of course, we as staff might be slightly selfish in this regard because we like to get home earlier if we can. And we have to wait about an hour extra time between the end of our workday and when this meeting starts. Our typical planning commission meetings start at 5, and so we had suggested the same time for the BZA meetings, and wanted to put that out to you to see if that would work with your schedules
Yeah, what
enough
you think.
to be able to get here. You know,
I'll
that's-
throw in my 2 cents on it. I would like 5 o'clock because I can walk over. I'm in the same boat as you guys. My only reservation that I do want to put on the record is if we have an applicant who is employed by someone who
5
has to
o'clock.
clock out at 5,
Yep.
I just want to make sure that we're providing ample time for them to arrive for a 5:30 meeting.
5 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, so
You have any problem with that, Jeannie?
I can make it fine, but to his point, if I'm coming in or someone else who takes my place or any of our place, and we have a job in Nashville, it could be hard to get here at 5 o'clock.
Well,
I mean, I prefer 5 because again, I can walk over.
And I understand how it's important to the staff. I wouldn't
Yeah.
blame you for wanting.
I just want to make sure that we're
around.
giving applicants ample time to arrive at a meeting.
That's not something that I think we've had an issue with from the planning side of things, for applicants to be able to get here.
I can also argue if it's important to them, they'll find a way to be.
Yeah, that's kind of maybe more where I would start to go with that thought, as, you know, if they've got something that they need to be able to be here for, they'll ask for a little bit of leeway with their employer to be able to leave early and,
I mean, if I was building a duplex, I'd find a way to get here.
well, it's hard for me to get here by 5. I don't close at 5, and then I've got to lock up and everything. I mean, you know, it's a little, but I can do it if I have to. If I don't, you can take over. I mean,
I just run all the red lights. Went on record saying that.
the applicants have a month's worth of notice. When they put their application in, typically it's about,
like, if you look at-
it's a few weeks to a month.
So like for
Something like
this,
that.
so like today, the meeting we're having right now, their submittal deadline to get on this agenda was April 9th. And so I'd argue
If it's
they
important,
have,
if they can make it.
I mean, that's a month and a half, and I'd argue they would know about it even in advance of that, because they know their submittal deadline is April 9th.
well, it ain't only the people, it's us too, the staff and all.
Well, she just specifically asked about the applicant.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how much.
I'm sure if something serious enough, they'll make a point to be here, probably, no doubt, yeah.
Well, if you'll entertain a motion, I'll make a motion to move the meeting time to.
We have to open a public hearing.
That's right. I'll get it right.
Open to the public, anyone? Seeing no one, I'll close it to public. Drew, give us a motion, will you?
I'll make a motion to change the meeting time from 5:30 to 5 PM.
Okay, from 5:30 to 5 o'clock. Second?
Second.
You second? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? So you have your time change. Any public comments? Any other business?
I've got other
Okay, go-
business.
all right,
I
let's hear
just
it.
want to make the BZA members aware that we will be holding some public meetings here soon in regards to the zoning ordinance update. So love to see you all come out and participate with that. The first one is going to be June 17th. It's our public kickoff meeting for that. It's a Monday evening. It'll be at 6 PM here in this room, in the City Hall, in the City Council chambers.
June what, did you say?
That one will be also available to attend on Zoom. So, but we are going to have our consultants here in person, so we'd love to see you guys out here if you can make it. And then after that, a month later, we'll start into our Planapalooza, which is a nice term for a 4-day intense design workshop where our consultants will be on site. They're actually going to be across the way at the new chamber space at the station. And they've got a really nice setup there, at least that hopefully will be open by then. They haven't quite made it in there yet, but
Are they done about
that will be a
done?
4-day thing between July 12th and July 15th, which is a Friday through Monday evening.
What's the time zone is?
That's going to be multiple different times for that. Likely, the Friday evening start would be kind of an evening presentation, and then we'll start into the workshop stuff on Saturday and Sunday, and finish up on Monday with a final presentation that Monday evening. But there will be opportunities throughout the day. They'll be here pretty much, early morning to late evening, working on site with some tables and chairs and, availability for focus group workshop groups with different folks and things like that. So we'll have more details on that as we get a little bit closer. But just wanted you guys to be able to get those onto your calendars so you can be a part of that discussion. You use the zoning ordinance as part of that. That's your document, right? The Board of Zoning Appeals really deals with the zoning ordinance, and so it's one of those things that I think you should be a part of, helping to shape what that new document looks like. So the more participation we can get from you, the better, I think. So those are just a couple things to kind of keep in mind going forward.
All righty. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor say